This is Boxing Tickets NI, and we're joined with Kevin Cronin. How are you, Kevin?
All good here. How are you?
Always fantastic. It's snowing in Belfast today. What's the weather like with yourself down in Kerry?
We avoided the snow, thank God. It's very cold, all right, windy and cold, but and rainy as well. But it's no snow.
No snow just yet. I'm sure that'll probably make your training a wee bit more harder. Obviously, a bit of snow to run through.
Oh, stop! Do you know what? And a lot of people say it. I don't mind. I don't mind running in the rain or in the wind or anything like that, but the cold gets me. I find it hard to get out and train in the cold. Like going to the gym and the gym is cold, and no, I take the rain any day of the week over cold.
I wouldn't be much for the snow myself. I think it'll be a day of staying indoors. Obviously, with the boxing on tonight as well. So,
Oh,
any
feet up.
excuse to stay indoors for today.
Yeah, 100%.
So I believe obviously you just finished your training session for today. Obviously you have fight news coming up. You're now back into the ring next month in Luxembourg.
Yeah, 5 weeks away. 5 weeks away today, actually. Yeah. I cannot wait. You don't know how much I can't wait to get back in there. It's been such an annoying year last year, Been told, but the only thing that kept me going and kept me in good shape is the fact that I kept having a fight coming up. Really, oh geez, this is coming up behind closed doors. I think we'll get you on that. So train for that. You train to that, and then a couple of weeks out, no, it's not happening. But in 2 months' time again, there's actually something there. So keep training. We'll get towards that. That went on for the year, and look, it was sickening not to fight, but it kind of kept me in the right headspace and kept me physically fit and in good shape all throughout the year as well. So that's one plus side to it.
I think for a lot of people, obviously, I know quite a lot of boxers. It's everybody was sort of taking the Eddie Hearn approach and staying ready.
Yeah,
But obviously, when you're not with a major one like Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren or Top Rank or things like that, it's harder to get shows. And I know Leonard and Stephen and Dennis have done their best to sort of try and get shows on. It's just been unfortunate in January. What was it? January, I think the last one was supposed to be that obviously the Spanish government decided it's going to be no boxing and things like that. So the good news now, hopefully, fingers crossed, 5 weeks time, you'll be back in the ring.
Yeah, look, it's looking good anyway. This promoter actually ran shows already behind closed doors and the pay-per-view cards as well. So I don't think none of his have fallen through yet. So it's looking very, very good. And can't wait. Yeah.
And I'd say, for yourself, you've been out of the ring. Your last fight was in June 2019. So, nearly 2 years out of the ring. So,
yeah.
I guess the good thing is it's sort of getting yourself back in there, remembering sort of wee things you probably would have done in the past and sort of trying to build yourself up again.
Yeah, and look, the thing is, we had so many fights penciled in between here and then. It wasn't just fought my second fight and laid off then, it's been a very, very annoying, what was it, like 18, 19, 20 months or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, like we had, I think it was 2 or 3 fights fell through straight away after my second fight, coming towards the end of the year. Wasn't too pushed about it, I was we're only starting out. Okay, we have next year. Next thing, I was fighting it was outside Manchester, in Cone, outside Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing, that was March 20th, I think. It was something like someone them dates anyway. And next thing, that's when COVID just hit Ireland first in. And the show still went ahead. But at the start, when COVID came, we all thought, oh, you get it, you kind of dropped dead. We didn't know how serious it was. We thought it was, well, it is a serious virus, but like we thought, it was one of these viruses where you could drop dead and we didn't know what had happened. So what actually happened there was a week before it. I was just thinking, going through airports, going through all that, me and my team putting them at risk of getting the virus, and how more serious we thought it was then. Is this worth it for a fight? And he said, no, look, we'll be out with this again in a month or two's time and we'll get the ball rolling again. But here we are, March 2021, the next one.
I don't think, I guess, I think when people look sometimes into the government standpoints and what they thought of COVID, I think people thought it was maybe going to be here for a month or so, then disappear and then come back towards the end of the year. But I guess, it's like anything in life nowadays, you just can't predict what's going to happen.
No, you see, that's the thing. Like, we're hearing these I think everyone heard all these stories. Oh, the army are going to be patrolling the streets. Over in Italy, they're dropping dead in the streets. Pure, just what would you call it? Chinese whispers. So that. It was more like. Don't get me wrong. I think it's coronavirus is there, and obviously people are dying from it, so it's a dangerous virus. But I think it was blown out of proportion at the start altogether. How bad we thought it was just from Chinese whispers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's definitely built on from them. And obviously, how have you been coping? I know it's nearly 2 years out of the ring, but I guess a good thing when you've had cancelled fight dates and everything else like that, it's been keeping yourself in a good sort of frame of mind with it all.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm always mentally strong anyway. I've never had any issues like that. My problem was I always loved food when I wasn't fighting, so I'd always blown up into the 90s, high 90s, something like that. And I stuck to a good diet plan. I stuck to my nutrition. We stayed sparring when we could, just training every day, and I was keeping myself ready the whole time for something to come up. And obviously, with, as you said, the Eddie Hearn cards and Frank Warren cards, you see lads getting called in last minute, and they're just the fight. Then it could be a close fight, and they're just not pinching it at the end because they weren't as ready as the other fighters were. So I was kind of staying ready, just staying on top of things, training for southpaws, orthodox. No matter what will come at you, then you'll be ready to go on and fight. But look, disaster every year. But yeah, kept myself physically good and kept the fitness very high all year with sparring and stuff like that. And still, the fitness is probably best I've ever had with ring fitness at the minute. The rounds I'm doing is surreal. I know I'm fighting a 6-rounder next, but we're doubling that up in sparring nearly, coming close to doubling that the amount of rounds up. And look, you can't complain about how things are going in the gym.
Definitely isn't. So from obviously what we see of you on social media and things, you've always plenty of banter, and you and Dominic have obviously quite a good bit going back and forth. You were obviously saying last week that Dominic wouldn't do anything for nothing, and I must have been paying him for it. And I think he's asked me to ask you this week something to do with a sunbed.
Yeah, you see. Yeah, it goes back to Kevin again, doesn't it? I have this tan, and it's a natural tan, of course, but I just kind of tanned. And see, Dominic, I think he'd love to be as tanned as me, but you see, you have to pay for the sunbeds. But when Kevin, I just think they're that tight, he doesn't really want to pay for the sunbeds, and I think he's just a bit mad over the tan now and not wanting to pay to get it. So that's
You're saying something to do with Deontay Wilder tan or something like that. I don't know what he was on about.
No, all natural.
So sort of looking back, Kevin, what age did you start indie boxing then yourself?
Yeah, well, got into boxing not seriously, but just being around the club was when I must have been 10. My brother was actually competitive with boxing. He was actually good underage, but he quit then after a couple of years, and I suppose it kind of came into that age with girls and drink and all that. But he was competitive, and I was around the gym for about 2 years. Not really. I wasn't a boxer. I was just around the gym while he was training, copying their trainings, punching a bag. I was never sparring or fighting or anything like that, just around the gym. But when he left boxing, then I'd say I don't know, 12 or 13, something like that. And I didn't see a boxing gym then till I was about 15 or 16. Mm-hmm. I'm not actually certain what age I got back into. I was about 15 or 16, but I only got back into it to lose some weight. But kind of went on. I was losing weight and I was enjoying it. I knew I really liked boxing. And I was sparring and stuff like that. I wasn't just completely to lose weight. I was getting ring fitness in as well. And then I started competing at super heavyweight because I was a big boy then. But I started
120 kilos.
Yeah, it was. I competed my first few fights were at 100. I was like 113, between 113 and 115. But I wasn't taking it serious now at all. I was fighting for fun really. Mm-hmm. But next thing, actually, what started that was a white collar fight. My very first fight, I just fought a white collar fight, and obviously I had a lot more training than the white collar guys. But it was just something that was there, and I enjoyed it. So then I got into. I was like 15. You have to be 18 to be in it, and I was there, to be an older age. But anyway, Then I was about 17. I started actually fighting then, and I started enjoying it more. So I cut a bit of weight. I cut down. I started fighting 108 kgs. It was still super heavyweight, but then when I kind of stepped it up and went into the Munsters and things like that, I started beating lads that were fighting, that were competing seriously for a couple of years, and at a weight class, I had no business at. So then I kind of, I was in love with the sport, and I was kind of like, it was actually my trainer put me aside, and he was like, you could go somewhere in this sport if you took it more serious. I was training twice, 2-3 times a week, and I had a bit of traveling to do for training. So we kind of stepped it up a bit and stepped up the training and all that. And I started going into the Celtic Cups and things like that at super heavyweight. And then look, as I started getting more serious and better at it, we cut down into heavyweight. And it was actually when I got to heavyweight then, as I just started competing very good, started taking a very serious training 6 times a week, and just started upping everything. And that went down for a couple of years then, and went down to 81 then for Haringey after doing my hand and things like that. In 91, I had a bit of time and space between fights, so I just started cutting weight and went down to 81, and I finished up my amateur career at 81. It sounds like it was the way I'm saying it sounds very fast in a short period of time, but it wasn't. It was a nice long period of time, and a lot of ups and downs in between then as well.
Yeah, and you lost quite a bit of weight as well. I remember actually reading that. I think you had quite a distance to travel and stuff as well for your training as well. So it sort of showed the dedication was there to be actually traveling the time period you did each week to sort of do your training. So you probably must have knew early on then, this is for me. You're obviously seeing the benefits of losing the weight what you wanted to do, and you were starting to enjoy your boxing more. So, were you putting on that mileage sort of to do your training as well? Then you must have knew that something was going to good was going to come out of it.
Yeah, it was like where I was living at the time is a place called Milltown, and I was training in Ballybunion, and it's about 50 minutes from where I live. So that was just 45 minutes to Ballybunion, train for your 2 hours, 45 minutes back. At the start, I was just doing it maybe a Monday and a Friday, just a bit of fun, get a bit of sparring and losing the weight. But then I started on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But then, when we started taking it serious, it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and even Saturday morning, and then days, obviously, where you're going up the country sparring and things like that. I knew fairly soon. Well, fairly soon. It was still about a year after I started, a year and a half, that I kind of figured out that it was, that I was good at it. Obviously, my coach saw it a bit earlier than me, because obviously I was picking up on it fast for some reason. But look, I don't know what to say about it. It's just it just beat, and it's stuck,
Yeah, it's just something meant to be. And sort of when you were finishing out, I know you were beaten I think you were badly. You were robbed pretty much in the Harrington Cup, or Haringey Cup, or if I can even pronounce the word. But I don't think there's probably anybody in amateur boxing that probably hasn't been robbed in some way. But you sort of, I think at that stage, you'd sort of said you were finished with boxing. Was that your first sort of contact you had then with Leonard from Boxing Ireland? I know he was there with his young son at the time, and he was sort of giving you comfort and saying, look, come pro. Was that the first sort of dealings you'd have with Leonard then?
No. I was talking to Leonard a couple of months prior, because my own coach was saying to me, a good few people were saying to me, at 91, it's unusual for people to be stopping so many people in the amateurs. You get a couple of stoppages here and there, but I was stopping the majority of my opponents in front of me, and with power. So, and I could box as well, but I was punching very, very heavy at 91. And it was unusual. Well, it wasn't unusual for me, but I was being told, it's unusual. I went into the Munster intermediates, and it was my first time moving up to intermediates, and 3 fights over the space of 2 weekends, and the furthest I went was the guy in the final taking me to the second round. I stopped all the opponents, things like that. I kind of knew. I knew, because I was being told, as I said, that the pros would have been a better style for me. But I was in touch with Leonard a couple of months prior. I was actually 91 at the time, a couple of months prior to Haringey, and I was more so testing the water, seeing what it was all about, and we had a chat, and there was nothing more. It didn't really interest me, to be honest. And I was kind of like, I know I'm suited to it, but do I want to go? Nah, not really, And that was, I don't know, maybe 6 months before. And then anyway, as I said, I lost out in the intermediates, and then I was training towards the under-22s then. And look, I was getting better every day, because you'd lads boxing since they're 9 and 10 years old, and I did pick it up that bit later than all of them. So I think I was kind of learning more faster, and I could, even in the space between the intermediates, 1 month later, then was the Munsters. No, sorry, the Munsters in the intermediates, but between the intermediates and the under-22s, I just felt like a different fighter completely, and like everything was going so good, and I was I was a bit heavier at 91 than my usual fights in the intermediates somehow. I think it was just down to bad nutrition and all that coming up towards them, but I kind of fixed all that going towards the under-22s, and I was coming into good shape at 91, and I had I was carrying a bit of a gut in the intermediates up in Dublin for the All Ireland, which it was gone for the under-22s, and around my fitness in the ring and everything was fairly poor in the All Irelands, and it was good for the under-22s, and everything was going lovely. I'm just trying to think how long it was before the under-22s. I think it was about 10 days before it. Then I was over just on the heavy bag in Ballybunion, and I kind of hit it wrong, and I knew I'd done something, and I bit down my gum shield, and I was in pain with it. And I was like, it was just, I was warming up for a spar with a super heavyweight, and it was down from Limerick. And next thing I said, it's just a bang, I'll be okay. And it was, this was piercing me, and I was biting on my gum shield. And next thing, went in sparring, and I was jabbing away. Seen, obviously, in sparring, technically, just seen an opening, left the right hand go down the pipe. Next thing, I didn't even connect that hard, and it was just, I don't think I'd done it on the bag. I think the damage was done on the bag, but it wasn't completely gone. But I could even hear, I could hear a snap and everything when in the spar when I threw the right hand. I dropped to my knees. It was the most painful thing I've ever experienced, and it was actually my knuckle. I done my knuckle a couple of weeks prior, which was always sore, but I never took none of it. I kind of boxed through the pain. But there's a bone going from the knuckle back to hand. I don't know what it is, but that's what actually snapped him when I was sparring. And it was a real kicker, because I was in a cast. I was completely out of action. That was probably of all my amateur career, that was probably the hardest, because I really thought I could go in and win the under-22s and hopefully go on to the Europeans. And God rest his soul, Kevin Sheedy actually won the under-22s. Lovely fella he was and everything, and sadly missed as well by all his family. But he went on, and he was an unbelievable boxer. He would have been the one I'd be worrying about going into the under-22s. I wouldn't worry about anyone else, but he was unreal, and technically, he was just perfect. But anyway, I was out with the under-22s. That was that. That was kind of coming in. I think that was December. That was coming into the months, when there's not a lot of fights, January, February, March in the amateurs. And I was like, what am I going to do? It was in my head saying, I'm going to fall off the bandwagon here, back up to 115 kgs, then come back in the summer, worry about trying to get back to 91. But I started with a strength and conditioning coach, and he kind of put it towards me, let's say hit 81. I was laughing at the start, and it's like a madman, I'm bigger than most of the 91s I'm getting in the ring with. But anyway, I said it to my coach as well. My strength and conditioning coach kind of convinced me then. He convinced me I could make 81. I put it towards my boxing coach. Same thing. He laughed. He said, go way out of that. You're way with the fairies. Tried convincing him. No good. Went back talking to my strength and conditioning coach. And then went back talking to my amateur coach again. Next thing he said, right. He said, if you want to do that, we knew we were going into Haringey in June. He said, if you want to do that, he said, maybe you will make it. He goes, I just think we're too big to make it. But he said, if we make it, all the best. He said, but look, if you want to take the chance of missing weight and having to move up to 91 and fight while you're lighter than the rest, he goes, that's up to you. And I kind of said, yeah, I'll try it. And lucky enough, that took months. I mean, that took months for that weight to come off me. And it was, I only seen 81 the day of the weigh-ins in Haringey. That went from like January. Actually, no, it wasn't. I think I kind of took January off, February to June. Then I was cutting. Oh, shitting myself, man, that I wasn't going to make it. And next thing, jumping the scales, and I hit 80.9, I think it was. And delighted. And then got through the first fight, then easy, and then went on the second fight, and then the worry that night was, oh shit, I'm going to eat now, because I had to eat after the fight, and I was like, and I'm going to go up weight again, and I'm going to be over the, we had 0.5 of a kg, we could make 81.5 the next day was the weight you were allowed, and I said, oh no, this isn't going to, I'm not going to make 81.5, and it was mad. Then obviously my body was still in cutting mode, because the very next day then I weighed in like 79.8, and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? My weight's going down more. But no, that was from the intermediates to Haringey. Then that's really what happened. I lost out that day, didn't split, unfortunately. But yeah, look, you were saying bad decisions. Look, maybe it was a bad decision. I think it was, but maybe, that's, the judges are there for that. But that wasn't the whole reason I turned over. It was just accumulation of so many decisions that I personally thought I should have gotten, my corner thought I should have gotten. Then you see it happen, as you said, to everyone else. It's kind of an unfair sport, really, amateur boxing in that way. But then it's few people were saying to me, there's bad decisions in the pros. And I was like, yeah, but if you take these big fights in the pros and you lose out on a bad decision, you're getting paid for it. So, like,
exactly.
The amateurs are just getting robbed and told, go away, like, train for another year towards the All-Irelands or something like that, At least, you can come back from a loss in the pros, and you can, you can get a rematch or something like that. And the amateurs, let's say if it happens in an All-Ireland final in 2018, you have to wait until 2019 to try and win that again. Yeah. And if it was in the elites or something like that, and it's your last chance for, let's say, Tokyo or one of the Olympics, you have to wait 4 years for that, So, look, it was just, it wasn't for me, the amateurs anymore. That's the easiest way of putting it.
Yep, and obviously, I guess a good thing with, you'd have seen obviously at that stage that Leonard and Stephen and Dennis were obviously putting on quite a lot of Celtic class shows and stuff as well. So, it probably was an easy fix for you in a way. That, look, I'm turning over pro, and obviously the potential heirs, plenty of fights.
Yeah, like the domestic scene in pro boxing, I did never look too much at it until a couple of months prior when I was talking to Leonard first, I was saying. And I think that was around the time that Paddy McDonough and Steve Collins fought for the Irish title. And, the weight class is booming then, but it's kind of slowed down a bit now, really. But it is coming back to that light heavyweight sign over, and hopefully people will all start fighting each other again. But, yeah, look, I met Leonard. It was actually Leonard who was watching my fight in the semi-finals over in Haringey. And he came up to me after the fight, and he said what I thought. He was saying, geez, you won that fight. My son's, he thought you won that fight. And I wasn't really in the mood for it. And I was like, yeah, thanks, but, goodbye kind of thing. But he planted the seed, and he was like, look, the way you're boxing, you're suited to the pros. Just come, train with a pro coach. Just come have a chat with me and all that. And, like, I knew I was never going to set foot inside an amateur boxing ring again after that day, because I had my coach told working up to it, this really is it, like, because I was going over cutting to 81, boxing lovely, and I was saying, I should win this. I should go over and I should win this easy enough. Because I was even looking at the lads, and there was good lads in that weight class, but I was like, John, I think I'm too much for them. And he agreed. He said he knew that if something happened, well, now saying that, if I went over and got battered in a fight, I probably would have went on and continued with my amateur career, trying to better on from that. But I think I knew the minute that they gave it close, and I was like, nah, an English lad here fighting in London, beating me, thinking I have the English lad beating in the 3-2 split. When they said it, I kind of, there's actually a photo the minute they said 3-2, and it's on Leonard Gunning's page if you look at it through his uploads. Back then, is the minute they said 3-2, I put my hand on my face and I put my head down, and I knew. I said 3-2. I said, this isn't it. No, this is gone from me. And next thing I just put my hand on my head, put my head down, and next thing he goes, whatever, your man in the blue corner, and put his hand up, and I knew I was just kind of, I was just more shocked than anything. But look, maybe the best thing that ever happened to me, to be honest. Kind of showed me take nothing for granted. You know, don't go into a fight and leave it close. Don't leave it in the, as you can see from my first few pro fights, try not to leave it in the judge's hands if you can at all. You know, because if you knock your opponent out, you're not going to get robbed. But anyway, yeah, Leonard got me in touch with Chanton Lewins, who's my pro coach now. And look, I went up working with Chanton for a couple of months, and look, everything just went. Once we clicked like, and my boxing got tidier. I started sitting down my shots more. Everything was falling into place, and I signed in Boxing Ireland, and they got me in a great debut in Clash of the Titans, and I was delighted.
Yeah, fantastic. And obviously then linking up with Jonathan, obviously you have Dominic in the stable as well, and the side the two years are sort of able to bounce off each other as well.
Yeah, look, Janton is a solid stable. Like, he's a very underrated coach, and I think it's because you see a lot of coaches around Ireland like to post about their training, which, like, John, I like to post stuff, training and pictures of training as well. So I'm not bad to say about it, but I think Janton's more laid back. He doesn't post about training, anything like that, and he is one of the best coaches out there, but he keeps everything under the roof, keeps it under the wraps. He doesn't leave anything out. But like, look at his stable. You have Dylan McDonough, fought for the Irish title. Was he I think he held the Celtic title, and that's something a very close decision as well with Karen McDonald. Like Dominic obviously has the Celtic title going to be coming up. Well, by the sounds of things, that him and Eddie Tracy will be happening, and like there's so many options there as well with the lads down at that weight class. You have light middle, you have middle, and to look at the amount of fighters there. Like, that's it. And yeah, Alan O'Connor, now he hasn't made his debut yet. He's signed with Chanton. That's that's a lot of well-known names around Ireland, boxing in one stable, but just not really heard of because it's kind of kept under wraps.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously then with your own activity sort of since then, it's just been a case of obviously just fights have just fell through, and obviously with COVID kicking in and stuff as well, it's just been just forget about it, move on, and look forward to obviously now your 6th rounder in Luxembourg. Yeah,
look, inactivity, it's happened. There's nothing we can do about it. Time to get over it, really. 18 months. Do you know what? When I was first told about Luxembourg, I said, oh no, this inactivity, coming into the ring, it's going to be torture, trying to get back into the rhythm of things. But my last couple of spars recently, my time, and like I'm still 5 weeks out from a fight, my timing, it's on point, and I'm setting nice little traps that I've never set before, walking people into these little traps and creating nice angles. And look, everything I think is going perfect. And by the way my sparring is going, I don't think the inactivity should bother me too much. Obviously there's going to be ring rust. I think give me a round and I'll have that shaken off just from all the rounds of sparring that's going to be got in between here in the next 5 weeks. And like, as I said, the rounds I'm doing in sparring, there's going to be no fear of my ring fitness. My weight, what I weigh right now, I was 3 weeks before I fought in York. What I weigh right now, 5 weeks out, is what I was 3 days before I weighed in York Hall for my fight. It was a cruiserweight, but it was like a kilo or two over like heavyweight, But that was the weight I was that time. So like, I don't have to worry about weight. All my eyes is on the boxing side of things. My strength and conditioning coaches we're working together as well, and like, everything's going great there. Everything's going perfect in a minute. Like, touch wood that nothing happens between here and there, because everything's going so good. It happens when everything is going great. But look, I can't wait to get back in there. The 6 rounds I think was the perfect move. I had my 2 4-rounders. I know Leonard wanted a couple of more 4-rounders from me, but as I was saying, I warm into fights. Like, my first 2 rounds are always touch and go. We're trying to get that out of the way, and it is going away with, like, I'm starting off a lot stronger now than what I usually have, but there's always work to be done. But like, look at my fights, my first round, just go back to my debut, first round, very touchy-go-away, nervy kind of. Second round, bit better. Was still touching around. Third round in, started coming into fourth round. Just came on like a train and took him out. Like, look at the fight in London. First round, picking away again, very nervy. Second round is nervy enough as well, kind of touching around until he actually came in. He was kind of he was a journeyman. He was a last minute. He had to come in last minute because I was meant to be fighting another opponent. But the only reason I got going that second round was I had to step it up a year because he kind of shoved me to the ropes, and then the ref goes break, and he didn't break, and he gave me a dig into the gut, and he goes, "Is that all you got?" And next thing I pushed him off, and I said, look, I'm just stepping it up now. And then if you look on, then into that second round, I started kind of taking over. Third round in, came on like a train, knocked him down. Fourth round, the fight could have been stopped. He was taking such a batter, and he was just being beat from corner to corner. And the thing is with sparring, like that fourth round I get strong, the fifth round I get stronger, the sixth round stronger again, seventh, it keeps going on, and I have a great engine in me as well, like as in I'm not dying away. I just keep building throughout the rounds. I think 6 rounds on is where you're going to see the best of me. And obviously stepping up the levels when lads are going to be coming to win, that's when you'll see the best of a person too, because when you're fighting somebody that's kind of there to lose, the first guy I fought, I don't think he was there to lose. Second guy, look, he was tough, but I didn't see any point where he was trying to win the fight against me, which I don't really like. But anyway, from 6 rounds on, kind of getting guys to come to win. So that's when I'll start showing my levels, I think. So we'll see how the 6th rounder goes now, and maybe another 6th rounder after that. And who knows? Even if I find the 6th rounder too easy, in the next one you could see me stepping up to an 8th rounder, going by sparring. That's the way things could go. But look, I got to perform in the night as well.
Definitely is. And is light heavyweight then going to be your sort of ceiling? Is that going to be the lowest you're going to go, or does your strength conditioning coach think you can go any more?
Yeah, look, there's a load of things that can be worked on. Like last year I built a bit of muscle while trying to cut away weight, just trying to stay ready for fights. But I think what I lacked until later last year was actually conditioning the muscle as I was building it, because I kind of, with the lockdown and everything, I wasn't with my strength and conditioning coach. So then I was doing my own thing with weights and building a bit of muscle. But look, we're back now since November, actually conditioning the muscle to have it in a way where I can use it in a fight. And I can even feel it. I used to kind of get tired in the shoulders and my arms would drop a bit, but I'm going 10 rounds now with a lovely high guard, punches flowing, a lot more punches flowing than usual, and as I said, setting traps, and I'm just feeling strong and conditioned. Light heavyweight, you were asking, I think light heavyweight is a good weight for me at the minute. I said it to someone else last week. I'm not going to say that you're never going to see me at super middleweight. I think you could see me in super middleweight fights in the future if the fights make sense, or if there's something there for me at super middleweight. But at the minute, I'll fight light heavyweight. Look, I'll see over the next 5 weeks. As I said, my weight is in good shape at the minute. My weight is the lowest it's been coming up to the fight. So we'll see over the next 5 weeks, obviously, how I get on to weigh in, how easy I make weight. That'll kind of be down into, maybe we'll try super middleweight the next fight, or maybe from here out the next 5 weeks, the weight could just stand still and it mightn't come at all, and we could say, yeah, look, it's a bit of a struggle to make light heavyweight. So I won't answer that right now. I'm definitely not ruling super middleweight out in the future.
Yeah.
But right now I think it's light heavyweight, but 5 weeks will tell a lot for us.
So I guess it's something you have to test sometimes as well, because yes, you could probably make 168, but then the problem is your punch resistance and things like that. You could be frail in it. The weight, it's the last thing you want.
How will I refuel if I make 168? How will I perform if I make 168? Like you could see me fight a masterclass at what is light heavyweight? Is it
175?
175, yeah. So let's say if I make 175 and I could perform outstanding, I could just make 168 and I could look shocking because it doesn't suit me. But then the other side of the coin is I can make 168 and I can be 5 times better than what I am at light heavyweight. But as you say, I have to test the water. I told you I'm not ruling out super middleweight. I will test the water. I'm going to see how I perform someday at super middleweight. But it's not to say it won't suit me and I'll be back up at light heavyweight.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about testing it all. So obviously, I know you recently you've had a bit of back and forth with Taylor McGoldrick. What's been going on?
That's kind of gone quiet over the last few weeks. I think I just made it clear that I wanted that fight. Um, it was a fight to be made. The 50-50 fights are something that's I hope will be growing now because of COVID. As you see, I'm stepping up to a 6 rounder. I'm looking to progress. I'm not looking to stand around and wait around fighting journeymen. You
Hmm.
see people going 12, 15 and 0 fighting journeymen. It doesn't make sense. People you're selling, when crowds are back, you're selling tickets to people. You're bringing crowds down to watch you beat up in a fella that's there to lose. You punch them, they
Hmm.
curl into a ball, they go into a corner, they take a knee. Oh, you got the stoppage. That's all and good, but I have a big following and I have crowds coming to watch me, and I don't want to catch them people. I don't want them to just be coming to watch me beat up in a fella. I want them to come and see me performing against someone at the other corner who is a good fighter, who is coming to win and looking to beat me as well.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm looking for. And I think that's where the whole Golder thing came up. I made it clear because obviously we were meant to be fighting on ESPN last year with the MTK card, and that fell through. And I just kind of made it clear at the start of the year, what, that fight was agreed to. And I decided, like, why can't that fight happen this year? And then, I don't know, it just became a thing then where I don't know where it came from. Obviously, someone wrote about it or something like that, and then it
Hmm.
exploded, and then there was back and forths. And at the minute, it's kind of in this mind frame where the comments coming from him. I'm just like, let's go. You talk about how great you are. You talk about how great you're going to be. You're going to win world titles, and then you turn around and say, "What have you taught for me?" I'd like, come here. If I win this 6 rounder and I do it in style over in Luxembourg, I'm going to shoot up to the rankings and I'm going to shoot past him. So
Hmm.
you were on about going up the rankings at that stage. I'm confident I'll win in Luxembourg. So once I win in Luxembourg, hey, I'm ahead of you. So who are you to say what have I to offer you? I have my ranking there, and I'll have a 6 rounder under my belt. And look, I don't get where this thing is coming from. Where I don't, what have I done to deserve to fight you? What have you done to deserve to fight me? I could say that too. It's the same thing. He goes on about the amateur career. Listen, your amateur career is behind you. You're in the pro game now. It's a different style. There's different levels, and I think, I was a good amateur. I wasn't a great amateur, but I think I could be a great pro. That's what I think in my head. And look, what does he to gain from fighting me? He gets to prove himself. If he
Hmm.
beats me, he's proven himself. I'm fully confident I'd beat him and beat him in style, but prove yourself. That's it. You've got to prove yourself. You can't just talk and talk and talk. And I know people say, John, that I'm talking, but I'm talking to try to get that fight so I can prove I can do it. I'm
Hmm.
not just talking and mouthing off and like just trying to build a name for myself. While I'm talking, I'm saying, let's fight, let's go. I'll go any day of the week. I'll have my ring rust knocked off in Luxembourg over the 6 rounds. Listen, you want to offer me a fight, I'll take it, kind of job, John. But obviously he'll want to get a win, to kind of get him back into the mindset where he's strong. So, like, if he wants to do that, I'm happy with that. I just hope this fight will happen. It was looking very good a couple of weeks ago that it happened this year, but everything's kind of gone quiet again. And I don't want to be talking about it. Obviously, I'm talking about it now, but I don't want to be talking about it because I've got a fighter coming to beat me in Luxembourg.
Hmm.
And if I'm thinking of Taylor McGoldrick or any other light heavyweight or super middleweight out there, my eyes are gonna come off that guy in Luxembourg, and he's gonna come out and try expose me then while I'm looking at a different fight. And that's
Yep.
the last thing I want. You got to take it a fight as it comes. So at the minute, my eyes are on my fighter in Luxembourg and no one else.
Yourself and Dominic sort of seem to have the same sort of approach. You don't want to go down, like some fighters do, and they get to 10-0 and just fighting journeyman. You just want to test it. And I say I done Dominic spoke to Dominic last week as well, and he was the same. He's like, I want to be tested in decent fights. 50-50 domestic dust ups. It'll show you probably more and motivate you more to train as well. So, it must be something in the water in the gym there that obviously just wants you having the best of what you can get.
You know what it is? I think it's just we're all training so hard. We all know how good we are and what we can do behind closed doors, that it gives us the confidence to know we can go fight these big fights and we can win them. And as I said, it's a not the other thing is I hate seeing someone go 10-0 fighting nobodies, where you could have someone that could be 3 wins and 2 losses, and so people be looking at their record like, oh, geez, John, he must be poor. But that person has beaten 3 good lads and lost to 2 great lads, So, and he could probably demolish that guy that's 10-0, So that, I'd much rather be knocked spark out cold in my 5th round, taking a big chance against this huge fighter, than to go 10-15-0 against nobodies. As I said, I want to prove myself. I want to prove what I can do, and it's the only way to do it. Look at old school boxing. Go back to the days of, I know it's a different weight division, but Mike Tyson, even Joe Calzaghe and all them. Did journeyman even exist then? It's just it's the world we're living in now, where people are judged on their record, and if that all goes, oh, you're done, your career's over. But look at all these fights. Like, I even look at Luke Keeler in Dublin. 5 or 6 years ago, I wouldn't have heard of him anyway. But then again, I didn't watch boxing that much. But didn't he? I think he drew with a journeyman when he actually turned.
He drew with Adam Jones. The fight with Cummins was made. So it's actually just past 3 years there. So he drew with Adam Jones in Belfast in the Devonish.
Yeah, like this is a good example of that, of levels. So you fight someone that's a lot worse than you, and you can beat them, and you're there to beat them. You're not going to be there. Your head's not going to be in it. You're going to go in. You're not going to train right. You're going to go in laxy-daisy, and you're not going to perform nowhere near you can. I haven't seen that fight, but I'm presuming that's maybe what happened, because he was a journeyman, wasn't he?
Yeah, Adam Jones a journeyman, but it was probably his record didn't suggest he could put up a good fight. Now I think it was actually from round 2 onwards. I think Jones can really back into it, and it sets your point well. If Keeler was probably too much focused on that fight when he knew the Cummins fight was signed and all, then look at the difference. Then when he fought Cummins, you're sort of going.
But look at the levels you can stand to then when you step up, how much better you are. Like, he knew Cummins was going to be a tough fight, and he went on and he won the European title twice, didn't he?
Yeah.
Both against Cummins, and then he went on and fought for world honors. So like that's why you got to step up. But even if you're not stepping up, obviously you have to fight these, like, some fights. There's no one there to fight you. You might have to fight these journeymen. You've got to train like it's a fucking world title, like, because if you take anyone for granted, they're like, even if they're coming to lose, they wouldn't mind building their record a bit as well. Like, if they see an opening, they're going to take it. So look, it's just I don't know what started that. I think it was just about the step up fights. I just think the same way that Keeler stepped up from the journeyman level and fought Cummings and showed how great he is, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I had my journeyman and then stepped out of that. Now I want to go up to the 6th round, or someone coming to win. I want to fight them and show the level I'm at. And I think the better opposition I face, the better I will look.
Better you're saying yourself. You're a fireman by day-to-day trade, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a fireman in Tralee.
Why do you not call yourself Fireman Sam rather than Kingdom Warrior?
I haven't proved myself as a fireman yet. I'm not in there that long. I only got into the fire brigade through lockdown. So at the very start of the lockdown, look, I'm only in there nearly a year. So I don't think I've earned the title yet to be boasting about it or anything like that. There's lads in there with a lot of years, with a lot more experience than me.
And is that going to be your normal day-to-day job now moving forward in the fire service?
Yeah. Look, I'm gonna be honest. I love the job. I love it. When the pager goes off, you don't know what you're going to, and I love a challenge. So you don't know what you're going to till you get there. So look, I enjoy the job. Suits very good with training as well. Actually, it's like I'm on call, so the pager I think has only gone off for 4 or 5 sessions over the last year. So it's only actually up. Yeah, it's right here beside me. I brought a plank of wood now just to touch. But look, it's suited very well with my trainings. And then if it goes off and I have to leave a training, I can always come back to it later.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy the job. Look, it's a great job.
So if I maybe give you I'm going to give an insight then to what your next ring walk tune's going to be. Then you're going to come out to Fireman Sam with the hat and all on, are you?
I would not. I don't know. I know what I'd come out with. I might do a Homer Simpson on it and do the why can't we be friends?
Well, I guess that'll be one way of getting more ladies to the boxing if they obviously know there's firemen there, So if you put your fireman's hat on and come out to London's Burning or come out to Fireman Sam's theme tune, you never know. I guess stranger things have happened. Sean McComb,
Yeah, the bird is the word.
Yep, he came out the
That was
tune, so
absolutely brilliant.
it makes it memorable, I guess, and keeps you in people's thoughts as well. You're going, Kevin Cronin's lost a pot. He's coming out like Fireman Sam, So
Yeah, Kevin Cronin, who came out to Fireman Sam and got knocked out by a journeyman. That'd be some name to be remembered by.
they would obviously you'd be making sure that obviously you'd squash that fire out. So obviously, finally, I know obviously it's Saturday, and everything else. Just obviously want to leave you on obviously one final thing. So what sort of goals have you set yourself within boxing? I know with the pandemic it's sort of hard to set goals and stuff at the moment, but you know, you wouldn't be a boxer if you weren't sort of looking at ambitions towards titles and things like that. So what sort of goals have you set yourself to aim for within the sport?
Yeah, so like last year, I had goals set for the start of last year. I had goals set for 2020 and 2021, and that's gone out the window. This like I can't even set a goal for 2021, because who's to say I fight in Luxembourg and I can't fight again for the rest of the year if we go into another lockdown or something like that. But look, over the next hopefully 3-4 years, I have loads of time on my side still. But over the next 3 or 4 years, I'd like to get to the European level, challenge for a European title. That isn't my end goal though. I do believe as I go on, I'll get stronger in the pros. I'll get more experience. Once we be getting better sparring and everything like that, better opponents, and I'll start progressing more. I do see me being able to challenge for a European belt over the next 3 or 4 years, and touch wood, win a European belt. But after that, like, win a European belt, what's there to go for then? Only world honors, so like the end all goal. Well, I think if you're serious about boxing, your end all goal should be that you want to go on and win world honors, and that is the end all goal. I'd love to be a world champion, but over the next 3 or 4 years, my goal is European title.
Yep, and I guess obviously as anything's shown, particularly even within the boxing Ireland stable, Caitlin Phelan at 20 years of age has won the WBC youth and won a couple of other. I think the class is like world honors, but they're obviously unrecognized, not as recognizable belts. But at 20, obviously she's now sort of come in the new mold of say Katie Taylor, so to speak. So there's probably big nights hopefully ahead in the future. I know Leonard's been obviously trying to get a TV deal and stuff for RTE or some of the likes of that back in the boxing in the south. So
yeah,
the more of that happens, the more that you can get potential fight dates lined up.
Yeah, look, and actually saying that last year, I haven't mentioned this at all, and the only reason I mentioned it is because you actually kind of brought it up. But I was offered a fight last year, and not a major world title, but the guy that I would have been fighting was like is it WBU? One of them world champion at light heavyweight. But it was Leonard said to me, and I was kind of like, let me get on to Jono. I was like, I know I'm not at the world level yet, but I'm still getting there, and I'm still the guy that could jump up. And even though I'm not at the level just yet, I could still cause the upset, and performing that night. And I mean, we were game for it, but there was no date mentioned, and I was 94 kgs, and the fight was in like 4 days, and like we were kind of like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's find out the date. It was like 4 days time. I was like, oh no, that's not happening.
It's just not working.
No, that's
you
not
need to cut a leg off to lose the weight that quick.
Like the whole point of taking a fight like that would be taking the chance to go on and do what Caitlin Phelan done and win them world titles, out of the blue, going from not knowing at all to just exploding the kind of stardom. But I wouldn't have made weight, so the titles wouldn't have been on the line. Would I have been eligible to fight for the titles in the first place? I doubt it, because I hadn't even got a 6-rounder in. But during the pandemic, who knows? Maybe they would have pulled some strings and said, okay, just because of the pandemic, we might let you. but it wasn't happening. It was some German guy. I looked at him. I think he was 15-0 with 13 knockouts or something like that. And I was kind of, I can't think of his name. I'll send that to you soon. The box rec pick. I'll find it again. But I was like, well, if they even gave us 2-3 weeks notice, I would have, I would have been game. But it was just too short. It wasn't a fight that I ran away from or backed out of or anything like that. It was just, I wasn't going to make weight. I wasn't going to draw people in, to getting everyone excited. Oh, geez, he's stepping up and fighting this guy, and then me missing weight and the fight not happening, because I wasn't going to come next near weight, to be honest with you. But no, that was something that popped up. But a lot of things popped up throughout lockdown that fell through, which was probably with the 90% of boxers out there as well, like opportunities coming up that were like on a day's notice or something like that. And and the other thing is, like, I'm trying to renew my license at BUI, and I haven't got it back yet. So on 4 days' notice, if I was trying to get my license, would I even had that either? Probably not.
Been a struggle. The final thing I also want to leave on is, you're only getting like anybody that's obviously going to be fighting in Luxembourg, it's not obviously cheap to box on. So, I'm obviously making sure that, where possible, obviously, that you're able to give obviously a shout out to sponsors and things like that, because, without you having sponsors and stuff involved there, things like Luxembourg and probably stuff like that wouldn't happen. So, obviously big kudos to obviously the sponsorship you have. I think actually, do you actually have to use like a quote cover? I think I've seen one of your t-shirts, you've had many sponsors involved that, your whole t-shirt's covered.
Yeah, that was my first fight, and it's the usual, your debut, everyone wants to be on board. But even on my debut, I knew once this fight's over, these are dropping, and I knew the few that were going to be there, because the ones that are there now were actually backing me as well towards the end of my amateur career when we were traveling to Haringey and stuff. They're great, like they were coming forward and saying, look, we'll help you out, look, we'll book the flights, we'll book the accommodation, do you need any equipment do you need boxing gear, stuff like that. They're great. Like, can I mention them?
Yeah, Kurt, certainly.
Oh yeah, like Kerry Drain Service, Relihan Dismantlers in Tralee, you've custom gym equipment. Sorry, no, it's just when it's going off the head, I can't really think. Your PD Fitness, Hercules Gym. If I'm leaving, like SB Sports now as well, are sorting me with a kit, and as well. Anyone, if you want supporters jerseys, they have unbelievable Kingdom Wire supporters jerseys in stock now. Just go into their sports, sbsports.uk, and I think there's an sbsports.ie now as well. It's very fast delivery as well, and there's the jerseys are great. Just like I'd recommend ordering from them rather than getting your own made or anything like that, because the quality is very good and the price is very good as well. And look, they're backing me as well, so order from them where possible. Look, obviously, with all the talk and everything now, there might be one or two gone out of my head. I don't think there is. I think I got them out there, but if I have, I'll put them up on Facebook later. I'm going to put them up on my Facebook page anyway. Coming up to the fight, I'm going to just do a little story about all of them, just to give them a thanks.
Yeah, so we've never any problem. Obviously, and you plug in your sponsors in the day. We're here to obviously try and help boxers as much as obviously sponsors will as well. So, sponsors play a huge part, and like you wouldn't be able to obviously box without the sponsorship involved as well. So anywhere it's obviously giving them credit, that's where it needs to be.
Yeah. Look, that's the thing. I don't think people even realize the cost. I think pro boxing has this name where if you're a professional boxer, you're paid to box. And you're making money. I think some people automatically think if you're a professional boxer, you're a millionaire. It is the complete opposite. Like, if you're a professional boxer starting out, even if you're with Eddie Hearn or one of them, like your first fight or two, you're going into the minuses. There's nothing pluses about that. Like, it's the minuses you're going to. Like, the cost behind it, you've show cost, everything is just crazy. Even if I told people, what it costs just for my fight kit, like, it's mad, between boots, shorts, jerseys, and things like that. It's nuts, like.
It's unbelievable, and it only gets worse over time as well. But look, Kevin, obviously, well, thank you very much for obviously your time. It's been an absolute pleasure, obviously, getting to know a bit more of you. Obviously, we have a bit more ammunition now when it comes to the tagging and posting things like that. I'm sure Dominic will probably be writing something under somebody to say something about your tan as well. But look, we obviously wish you all the very best for obviously your next 5 weeks of obviously your camping, and fingers crossed, one number 3 is coming, probably stoppage.
Yeah, look, well, actually, you know what? As you say that, I only said it last week. If the stoppage is there, without a doubt, it'd be stupid not to take it. But I am going over there looking for 6 rounds. I want this fella to be, obviously I want to win, but I want him to drag me into the deep waters. I want him to push me for 6 rounds. That is what I'm hoping for. I would be much happier with a points decision over a knockout victory any day of the week going over here. Because I want to know how good my fitness levels are in the ring going 6 rounds and being pushed over the 6 rounds. Then I'll know if I'm ready to jump up to the 8. But as you say, look, the better opponents are put in front of me, the better chance I have of stopping them, because they're fighting back and I can set traps and put myself in a position to put the finishing touches on them. But yeah, look, thanks very much for having me. And yeah, hopefully win number 3 coming up in a couple of weeks.
Definitely. But listen, enjoy the rest of your weekend and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you. Same to you.